Hello guys, I'm Tom, and today we'll take a look at Final Destination 6, Bloodlines. One of the most iconic and beloved franchises in horror cinema is, without a doubt, Final Destination. Since its first installment, this franchise has kept fans on the edge of their seats with its clever approach to death and fate. Each film has shown us how the characters' lives hang by a thread as an unstoppable force, death, continues its path, hunting those who defy its course. With each new sequel, the tension, suspense, and shocking deaths have made us ask, can we truly escape fate? Get ready to dive once again into a world where death never sleeps and always has the final word. The trailer for Final Destination 6, Bloodlines, plunges us into a scene that, at first glance, seems familiar, a happy family enjoying a day outdoors. However, as is characteristic of the saga, the tranquility is interrupted by the imminent presence of death. This time, the threat is subtle yet deadly. A glass breaks, shards of glass fall onto the ice, and the feeling that something terrible is about to happen looms. Death, always unpredictable, uses these elements to orchestrate a tragedy that culminates with the victim being struck by a lawnmower. Unlike the previous films, this sixth installment doesn't start with a premonition that allows the characters to escape a fatal destiny. Instead, it introduces a more intimate and personal narrative. The story follows Stephanie, a college student who, tormented by recurring nightmares of an accident that occurred decades ago, returns home in search of answers. She discovers that her grandmother, Esther, survived a tragedy in the 1960s, an event that triggered a curse now haunting her descendants. This family-focused approach adds a new dimension to the saga, exploring how past actions can affect future generations. The title Bloodlines reflects this intergenerational connection, suggesting that death is not only after the original survivors, but also their descendants. One detail that enriches the plot is the notebook the grandmother gives to Stephanie, filled with information about how death has hunted its victims in the past. This notebook contains references to events from previous films, such as the infamous Flight 180 and the logging truck, creating a link between all the installments and offering a nod to fans of the franchise. The film also stands out for its ethnic diversity, presenting a wide range of characters that reflect the grandmother's descendants over the years. This diversity not only enriches the narrative, but also heightens the tension, showing that the threat of death extends to the entire family, regardless of their background or location. The protagonist, Stephanie, is forced to face the loss of close family members, including parents, siblings, and cousins, which adds a deeply emotional layer to the story and makes it one of the most heartbreaking entries in the saga. One element that excites fans is the return of Tony Todd in his iconic role as William Bloodworth. This time, Bloodworth offers cryptic advice to Stephanie, suggesting that only by accepting death can she save her family. This line hints that the protagonist will have to confront her fate and make difficult decisions to protect her loved ones. Todd's inclusion adds a nostalgic and familiar touch for fans of the franchise, reinforcing the connection between the different films. In the Final Destination universe, the phrase spoken by William Bloodworth suggests that characters must accept their mortal destiny to evade the relentless hunt of death. This idea is based on the notion that accepting the inevitability of death may offer a way to escape its pursuit. Outside the context of the film, embracing death refers to accepting our mortality and living fully with the awareness that life is finite. This perspective invites us to reflect on the importance of valuing each moment and finding meaning in our existence, recognizing that death is a natural part of the life cycle. The trailer culminates with a scene that pays homage to the first film in the franchise, a man mocking death and ending up crushed by a truck. Although this event doesn't actually occur, but rather serves as a representation of what could happen, it acts as a nod to the fans and reinforces the essence of the series. This scene encapsulates the sense of inevitability and fate that has characterized Final Destination from the very beginning. In summary, Final Destination: Bloodlines promises to revitalize the franchise with a fresh narrative that explores family connections and the legacy of fate. With references to previous films, beloved characters, and the unmistakable atmosphere of tension, this installment seems set to be a must-watch addition for the series fans. Now, one of the first things that is frequently mentioned is the notebook belonging to Stephanie's grandmother, which contains references to events from previous films, such as the logging truck from Final Destination 2 and Flight 180 from Final Destination 1. This already suggests that the grandmother has either witnessed these events or at least learned about them. And this opens up a great deal of speculation about the origin of this knowledge. Now, how useful will this journal be for Stephanie? In my opinion, the notebook not only acts as a historical record of death, but also as a guide to avoid accidents. It's likely that the grandmother's notes don't just describe what happened, but also explain how death works. The patterns it follows, what things seem to be signs before someone dies, and most importantly, how it manipulates humans to fulfill its purpose. If that's the case, the notebook could become a crucial tool for Stephanie as she attempts to change her family's fate. But be warned, there's a major but in all of this. Death never plays fair. The grandmother's notebook could be a double-edged sword. While it might contain vital information on how to avoid accidents, it's also very likely that there are details the grandmother has omitted, perhaps to prevent someone from trying to change fate again. There might be warnings or traps in the notebook, which only reveal themselves when Stephanie tries to follow the advice, only to realize that, as always, death has its own plans. Also in that notebook, certain patterns death follows are probably mentioned, which might lead Stephanie to try to stay ahead and prevent the accidents. But, as we've learned from the previous films, when you think you've figured out how to trick death, it always has a twist to make sure its victims don't escape. Also, imagine this. What if the notebook contains hidden clues that only someone with the special sensitivity to see visions can fully understand? Perhaps Stephanie, like the protagonists in the other installments, will have to discover these clues as accidents start occurring. Maybe not everything in the notebook is clear at first, and she'll have to read between the lines, uncover patterns, and possibly use her intuitive ability to foresee deaths to interpret the right information. And that's all we know so far about the new Final Destination movie. I really enjoyed the new trailer and the way they're approaching the story with this film, as well as the meaning behind the deaths and visions and how everything connects together. But let me know your opinion in the comments. Have you seen the new trailer? Do you think they can really avoid their deaths and save their loved ones? And finally, if you were in their position, what would you do to save yourself? Share your answers to these questions and your overall thoughts on this new Final Destination installment. As always, thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you liked it, share it to support the channel, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of my new videos.